My name is Stacy Cartwright. I'm 28 years old. It's February 15th, 2026. Oakmont Country Club. In 10 minutes, I'm giving the keynote at my father's fundraiser. 20 minutes ago, he introduced me to 12 people as the daughter who failed emergency medicine. Not left. Failed. She was smart enough, he told them, just not steady enough when real lives were on the line. She does safety now, safer for everyone. He said it 12 times. Same smile, same shrug, same little performance. By the end of cocktail hour, strangers were consoling me for a failure I never had. One woman said, "At least you found something smaller." A surgeon said, "Your father must sleep better knowing you're not in an ER." My father laughed. Then he raised his glass and said, "Stacy's still useful, just in a more administrative way." The room laughed with him. I did too. Now he's in the second row. And in 10 minutes, I'm going to let him hear what I let him say about me all night. Before I tell you what happened when I stepped onto that stage, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from, and whether your family ever introduced you as a version of yourself that was never true. But to understand why I'm standing here with 32 slides loaded and my hands perfectly steady, you need to know what happened 6 years ago. September 2019. Jefferson Hospital. Emergency medicine rotation. Night shift. I finished college in 3 years. By 22, I was already on my emergency medicine rotation. Night shifts at Jefferson, the hospital where my father was chief medical officer. Dr. Edmund Cartwright. 3 generations of Cartwrights had worked there. The pediatric wing had our name on it. I'd grown up at hospital fundraisers, summer barbecues with attending physicians, Christmas parties in the doctor's lounge. September 18th, 2019. I clocked in at 7 p.m. Badge number MS2217, third-year medical student. 8 weeks into clinical rotations. My evaluations were good. Better than good. My attending had written exceptional clinical instincts on my midpoint review. I was gunning for emergency medicine residency. Columbia was my top choice. I had the grades, I had the board scores, 94th percentile. I had a plan. That night, bed 12 was a 6-year-old with a fever his mother said wouldn't break. She'd brought him in around 10:15. He'd been sick for 3 days. Tylenol wasn't working. She kept saying, "Something feels wrong." I remember that. The exact phrase. Something feels wrong. The attending physician was Dr. Owen Mercer, 23 years of experience, senior partner in the hospital foundation. My father's golf partner. Every Sunday morning for the past decade. I presented the case. 6-year-old male, fever 3 days. Persistent despite antipyretics, mother concerned about lethargy. Dr. Mercer barely looked at the chart. Viral syndrome, he said. Tylenol, fluids, follow up with pediatrician. Next. I saw the neck stiffness when the boy tried to look at his mother. I saw the petechial rash on his ankle when I helped him back onto the exam table. Small, easy to miss if you weren't looking, but I was looking. "Dr. Mercer," I said, "should we consider meningitis? He's got nuchal rigidity and what looks like petechiae on his left ankle." Dr. Mercer turned around, slowly, the kind of slow that makes a room go quiet. "You're not the attending," he said. "I've been doing this for 23 years. This is a common cold. Don't waste the family's money on unnecessary tests because you read about zebras in a textbook." The mother looked at me, then at Dr. Mercer, then back at me. "Should I be worried?" she asked. "Kids bounce back fast," Dr. Mercer said. "Just keep him hydrated." They were discharged at 10:45 p.m. I charted my concern in my student note, documented the nuchal rigidity, documented the rash, documented that I'd raised the question of meningitis. I didn't know if anyone would ever read it, but I wrote it down. At 11:30 p.m., I was in the resident lounge when I heard the code announcement over the hospital intercom. I didn't think anything of it. Codes happened. Then my phone buzzed. Text from the night charge nurse, Evelyn Ward. "You still here?" I went back to the ER. Evelyn was standing by the nursing station. She'd been a nurse for 25 years. She didn't waste words. "The boy from bed 12 last night," she said. "He coded at home around 2 a.m., brought back by EMS. Didn't make it. Bacterial meningitis." The room tilted. I put my hand on the desk. "He died?" "At 2:17 a.m., Evelyn said. "They ran the LP in the ambulance. Strep pneumo, fulminant course." I couldn't breathe. I told Dr. Mercer. I said we should consider— "I know," Evelyn said. "I saw your student note." She handed me a printed copy of the hospital's patient safety reporting portal. "You asked about meningitis in your note. You saw it, and you spoke up. You know what to do." I went home at 11:30 that night. I sat on my apartment floor with my laptop. I opened the patient safety event report form. I filled it out. Missed diagnosis. Premature discharge. Student concern dismissed. Preventable death. I attached my student note. The timestamp on the note was 10:38 p.m., 7 minutes before discharge. I clicked submit at 11:52 p.m. The system sent a confirmation email. Report number ER-2019-0918-SC. Your report has been received and will be reviewed by the Patient Safety Committee within 72 hours. I forwarded the confirmation to my clerkship director and student affairs contact. Protocol. Everything by the book. I went to bed at 1 a.m. At 8:03 a.m., I swiped my badge at the hospital entrance. The light turned red. Access denied. I called the clerkship office. The coordinator's voice was careful in a way that made my stomach drop. "Dr. Hale needs to see you." Dr. Walter Hale, Associate Dean for Student Affairs. His office was on the 3rd floor. When I walked in, he didn't make eye contact. He slid a printed email across the desk. Subject line: Urgent. Stacy Cartwright, Professionalism Concern. Sender: Dr. Edmund Cartwright. My father. Sent at 6:42 a.m., 10 hours after I filed the report, 4 hours after the child died. I started reading. My hands went cold. "I'm writing to request immediate review of my daughter Stacy's clinical readiness. During her ER rotation at Jefferson Hospital, she has developed a concerning pattern of questioning attending physicians inappropriately and filing incident reports that stem from her inability to function under the pressure of clinical medicine. Last night's report regarding Dr. Owen Mercer is particularly troubling. Dr. Mercer is a highly respected physician with an impeccable record. Stacy's accusation of a misdiagnosis shows poor judgment and an unwillingness to accept the hierarchical nature of medical training. She's become a liability to the program and to patient care. Our family has endowed the Cartwright Pediatric Wing and has deep ties to this institution. I trust you'll handle this matter appropriately and discreetly. For Stacy's own well-being, I'm requesting her immediate removal from clinical rotations pending professionalism review." I looked up. "I filed a legitimate patient safety report," I said. "A child died." "The matter is under review," Dr. Hale said. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "For now, you're on administrative leave from clinical duties." "What about the Patient Safety Committee?" I asked. "They're supposed to review my report within 72 hours. Dr. Hale looked at his desk. "That's being handled at the hospital level." I understood. It wasn't going to be reviewed. It was going to disappear. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from the Student Progress Committee. Mandatory meeting. October 8th, 2019. Room B, 204. I brought a student advocate. The committee had 5 faculty members. None of them mentioned the patient who died. They talked about inappropriate escalation. They talked about failure to follow chain of command. They talked about impact on hospital relationships. The committee chair, a man who'd had dinner at our house 3 times, looked at me with something like pity. Medical education requires teamwork and trust, he said. Your clerkship director reports that you've shown difficulty accepting clinical hierarchy. I asked the question directly. I needed to hear them say it. Has anyone reviewed what happened to the patient I reported? The room went quiet. The chair shifted in his seat. That's not within this committee's purview. The letter came a week later, October 15, 2019. The committee recommends medical leave pending successful completion of professionalism remediation and fitness for duty evaluation, including psychiatric assessment. My student advocate pulled me aside after the meeting. She was kind. Too kind. The kind of kindness that comes with bad news. The professionalism letter will stay in your file, she said quietly. If you want any chance at residency, you should consider voluntary withdrawal, for personal reasons. Clean break. $127,000 in student loans, a 3.89 GPA, 94th percentile on my boards, 8 weeks into my clinical year, and a choice that wasn't a choice. I signed the voluntary withdrawal form on November 4th, 2019. My father called that night. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't ask how I was. He said, "I think this is for the best, sweetheart. Medicine isn't for everyone." That was the first time he told the story. Thanksgiving came 3 weeks later, our house in Gladwine, Mainline, Pennsylvania. 18 relatives. My aunt asked what happened with medical school. Before I could answer, my father jumped in. Stacy decided medicine wasn't right for her, he said. He was carving the turkey. Casual, like we were discussing the weather. The pressure of clinical rotations. It's not for everyone. Emergency medicine is intense. She just couldn't handle the pace. Better to know now than later. My uncle frowned. But she was doing so well, what happened? She's smart, my father said. But smart isn't always enough in an emergency room. You need to be steady when real lives are on the line. Stacy wasn't ready for that level of responsibility. I sat there, silent. My mother was nodding along. That's when I knew. He'd already convinced her it was my failure, not his betrayal. No one asked me for my version. The Christmas card went out in mid-December. 200 cards, hospital board members, country club directory, medical school alumni network, family friends. The photo didn't include me, the letter did. Edmund continues his important work at Jefferson Hospital, now in his 8th year as chief medical officer. Margaret is enjoying her book club and planning the spring garden. Stacy is taking time to explore other career paths after deciding medical school wasn't the right fit. We're proud of her self-awareness and excited to see where life takes her next. I got texts for weeks. Sorry to hear about med school. You'll find your path. Good for you for knowing your limits. I stopped answering. I stopped going home. By January, I was sitting in my apartment looking at my bank account. $127,000 in debt. No MD, no residency, no career path. My savings had $3,200. My father sent an email with a job offer. Subject line, an option. I've spoken with our hospital foundation director. We can get you into a development coordinator role. $38,000 a year to start. It's not medicine, but it's stable work. You'd be helping with fundraising, donor relations, event planning. We take care of our own. Let me know. I stared at that email for an hour. Working in the building where a child died because no one would listen to me. Under my father's name. His legacy. His version of mercy. I wrote back one line. No thank you, he called. Pride won't pay your loans, Stacy. I hung up. If your own father told a story about you for 6 years, a story where you failed, where you were too weak, where you couldn't cut it, would you correct him in person? Or would you disappear and build something he'd never see coming? Comment A if you'd confront him. Comment B if you'd go quiet and plan. I chose quiet. January 2020. I applied to Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. Master of Public Health. Health Policy and Management Track. Patient Safety Concentration. The application asked for a personal statement. I didn't mention my family. I didn't mention my father. I wrote one line that mattered. I learned that speaking up is not the same as being heard. I want to build systems where it is. They accepted me with a $22,000 scholarship. I enrolled in August 2020, but before I left for Baltimore, I did one thing. I created a folder on my laptop. Jefferson, 2019. I scanned everything: the incident report confirmation email, my student notes, the student progress committee letter, the withdrawal form, my father's email to Dr. Hale, Dr. Hale's response, 47 pages total. I burned it to a USB drive, put the drive in a safety deposit box at PNC Bank, backed everything up to encrypted cloud storage. I wrote myself a note. I don't know when I'll need this, but if I ever do, I'll have it. Every word, every timestamp, every signature. That folder became the foundation of everything I built next. The MPH program was different. No one knew my father. No one knew my story. I was just another student trying to understand why healthcare systems fail. My capstone project focused on institutional barriers to medical error disclosure. I surveyed 200 medical students across 5 schools. 73% said they'd witnessed errors but didn't report them. The most common reason: fear of retaliation. My faculty advisor read my findings. "This should be published," she said. I presented at the Student Research Symposium in May 2021. In the audience was a woman named Dr. Claire Weston, Senior Director at the Center for Patient Safety Accountability. She handed me her card after my presentation. "We should talk," she said. 3 months later, I had a job offer. Patient Safety Analyst, Washington, D.C., $62,000 a year. Start date: August 16, 2021. I moved to D.C. in mid-August. Shaw neighborhood, small apartment, new city, new name on my work badge, no Cartwright attached to my title, just Stacy C. Patient Safety Analyst, CPSA. My job was simple: review adverse event reports from hospitals across the country, identify patterns, recommend system changes. I was good at it. Better than good. I knew what it looked like when institutions buried truth. 3 months in, I was assigned my first pediatric case: missed sepsis, delayed antibiotics, preventable death. I read the file and my hands started shaking. It was the same pattern. A nurse had flagged early warning signs. The attending had dismissed them. The hospital had classified the death as unavoidable complication. I wrote a 20-page review. I documented the suppressed concerns. I recommended policy changes. My supervisor read it and called me into her office. "This is exactly the kind of work we need," she said. By November 2022, I'd been promoted to Safety Review Manager, $78,000 a year. I was leading a team of 4 analysts. I was developing frameworks for identifying reporting suppression. I published an internal white paper titled "Silent Harm: How Institutions Silence Safety Concerns." 12 state health departments cited it. Around the same time, I got a wedding invitation. My cousin's wedding. November 18, 2023. Marion Cricket Club, just outside Philadelphia. I hadn't been home in 3 years. I almost didn't go, but I went. The reception was beautiful. 200 guests, open bar, string quartet. My father was there in a navy suit, holding court at a table with 6 other physicians. I watched him from across the room. He was mid-story. I could see the gestures, the rueful smile, the little shrug. I walked closer, just close enough to hear. "My daughter tried medical school," he was saying. "Brilliant girl, but the ER rotation broke her. Some people aren't cut out for that level of pressure. 12-hour shifts, life and death decisions, the weight of it all. She did the mature thing and stepped back. She's doing policy work now, government stuff. Not quite medicine, but she seems happy." One of the doctors asked, "What kind of policy work?" My father glanced across the room, saw me standing there, 12 feet away, holding a glass of champagne. He knew I could hear him. "Something with hospital safety, I think," he said. "Committees, regulations, paperwork. It suits her better than clinical work." The table nodded sympathetically. One of them said, "It takes courage to admit medicine isn't for you." I raised my glass, smiled, walked away. I wasn't angry anymore. I was calculating, because 6 months earlier, I'd started working on something bigger. A research project with Dr. Weston and 3 other analysts. We were studying medical error reporting culture across 1,200 hospitals. We were looking for patterns of suppression. We were documenting cases where institutions had buried safety reports to avoid liability, protect reputations, or shield powerful physicians. We published the findings in March 2024. Silent No More: Medical Error, Reporting Culture and Institutional Retaliation, Journal of Patient Safety. The data was damning. 41% of hospitals surveyed had documented instances of reporting suppression. Students and residents were the most likely to be silenced. The paper went viral in the patient safety community, 2,000 citations in 8 months. I started getting invited to conferences, panel discussions, keynote requests. One invitation came in early December 2024. Email from Dr. Nolan Pierce, Gala Committee Chair at Oakmont Country Club. "Dear Ms. Cartwright, we've been following your work on patient safety reform with great interest. Our members would benefit tremendously from hearing your perspective on the future of medical leadership and accountability. We'd like to invite you to deliver the keynote address at our annual Physician Excellence Gala on February 15, 2026. The event typically draws 400 physician members and healthcare leaders. Honorarium is $2,500. Your father, Dr. Cartwright, is on our Legacy Council. When we mentioned your name, he was delighted. He said you'd be perfect for this." I read that line 3 times. He was delighted. He thought I'd come give a nice talk about patient safety, 20 minutes on the importance of transparency, maybe a story about my work in DC. Something safe, something that made him look good. He had no idea what I'd been building. I accepted the invitation the same day. For the next 2 months, I built my presentation. Not an abstract lecture on patient safety principles, a case study. Specific, detailed, anonymous hospital, anonymous physician, anonymous medical student. The structure was simple. What happened, what was reported, what was buried, what the consequences were. 32 slides, 18 minutes of speaking time. I finished the draft by January 20th, 2026. Then I opened the folder I'd kept for 6 years. The USB drive from the safety deposit box. 47 pages of receipts. I added 5 more slides to the end of my presentation, slides 28 through 32. Not anonymous anymore. Slide 28. September 19th, 2019, 6:42 a.m., an email. Slide 29. The full text of my father's email to Dr. Hale. Every word. High resolution. Readable from the back row. Slide 30. The report he was trying to bury. Submitted 9 hours earlier. My incident report confirmation. Timestamp. 11:52 p.m. September 18th. Slide 31. 3 items side by side. My student note documenting concern for meningitis. 10:38 p.m. Patient death certificate. 2:17 a.m. My father's email. 6:42 a.m. Slide 32. What happened next? Student withdrew. Physician faced no review. Hospital implemented no policy changes. Family never informed that a medical student had raised concerns. Until this year. I sent the final deck to the AV team on February 1st. I didn't tell them what was in the last 5 slides. On February 10th, I received the seating chart. My father was assigned to table 3, second row, facing the stage. Close enough to read every word on the screen. Perfect. On February 14th, the day before the gala, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Stacy? The voice was familiar, older. It's Evelyn Ward. I heard you're speaking tomorrow at Oakmont Country Club. Evelyn, the charge nurse from that night in 2019. I hadn't spoken to her in 6 years. I retired last year, she said. But I still hear things. I wanted to call and tell you. What you did that night was right. Filing that report. Speaking up. Don't let anyone make you doubt that. My throat tightened. Thank you. I remember that night, Evelyn said. I remember you. You saw what that attending missed. You documented it. You followed protocol, and they buried you for it. She paused. Go tell them what happened. And Stacy, don't hold back. I thanked her again. After we hung up, I sat in my apartment and looked at the train schedule. Amtrak to Philadelphia. 6:48 a.m. departure. I packed my suit. I didn't sleep much. February 15th, 2026. I took the early train from Washington. By 5:30 p.m., I was standing in the Oakmont Country Club ballroom. Grand room. 40 round tables, 10 seats each. Crystal chandeliers, 3 donor plaques on the walls. All 3 had the Cartwright name. The AV tech loaded my presentation. 32 slides, he said. Looks great. Don't worry if there's silence after slide 28, I told him. That's intentional. Guests started arriving at 6:15. My father walked in at 6:32, navy suit, confident stride. He saw me standing near the side entrance. He smiled, waved, I waved back. Cocktail hour ran from 6:30 to 7:15. My father found me 10 minutes in. Stacy! He put his arm around my shoulders, steered me toward a group of older physicians. Gentlemen, this is my daughter. Tonight's keynote speaker. She's doing wonderful work in patient safety policy. They shook my hand, asked polite questions. My father answered most of them. Stacy left medical school to pursue public health, he explained. Smart pivot. Clinical medicine wasn't the right fit, but she's found her calling in systems and regulation. One of the men said, Your father talks about you all the time. I smiled. Does he? My father laughed. I tell everyone. Stacy's proof that there are many ways to contribute to healthcare. Not everyone needs to be in the ER. For the next 45 minutes, he walked me through the room. 12 introductions. 12 times he told some version of the same story. I was smart but not steady. I tried emergency medicine. I couldn't handle the pressure. I do safety work now. Safer for everyone. Better this way. By 7 p.m., strangers were offering me condolences. One woman touched my arm and said, At least you found something smaller, something you can manage. A surgeon said, Your father must sleep better knowing you're not making life and death decisions. My father raised his glass. Stacy's still useful, he said, just in a more administrative way. The room laughed. I laughed with them. At 7:10, the committee chair announced dinner seating. I watched my father walk to table 3. Second row from the stage. He sat facing the screen. He had a clear view. He was close enough to read every word. I sat at the head table. Dinner was served at 7:15. Salmon, roasted vegetables. The room hummed with conversation. My father was relaxed, laughing, telling another story. At 8:10, Dr. Nolan Pierce stood up to introduce me. We're honored tonight to hear from someone who represents the future of ethical medicine. Stacy Cartwright has dedicated her career to patient safety and institutional accountability. Her work at the Center for Patient Safety Accountability has influenced policy at the state and federal level. And as the daughter of our own Dr. Edmund Cartwright, she embodies the next generation of medical leadership. Please join me in welcoming Stacy Cartwright. The room applauded. 12 seconds. I stood, walked to the podium, looked out at 400 faces. Physicians, surgeons, administrators, hospital board members. And in the third row, my father. Smiling. I clicked to slide 1. Thank you for that introduction, I said. Tonight I want to talk about what happens when institutions prioritize reputation over truth. The room settled. Attentive, professional. Slides 1 through 10 covered the research, patient safety statistics, reporting culture data, the case study approach. In September 2019, I said, a medical student on an emergency medicine rotation witnessed what appeared to be a diagnostic error. A 6-year-old patient presented with fever, lethargy, and signs consistent with bacterial meningitis. The student documented her concerns and raised them with the attending physician. The room was engaged, nodding. My father looked comfortable. Slide 11. The attending dismissed the student's concerns. The patient was discharged. 8 hours later, the child coded at home. He was brought back by EMS. He died at 2:17 a.m. Cause of death, bacterial meningitis. The room got quieter. Slide 12. The student followed protocol. She filed a patient safety report. 9 hours later, her clinical access was revoked. I let that land. A few people shifted in their seats. Slides 13 through 20 detailed the retaliation. Student Progress Committee, Professionalism Review, Psychiatric Evaluation Requirement, Forced Withdrawal. The student's career ended, I said. The attending physician faced no review, and the patient, I paused. The family was never told that a medical student had raised concerns before discharge. The room was noticeably quieter now. Some guests were leaning forward. Others were glancing at each other. Slide 21. The student was told she couldn't handle the pressure of medicine. I saw my father's face change. The smile was gone. Slides 22 through 27 showed how the narrative spread. How the story became about a weak student who couldn't cut it. How it was repeated at family gatherings, social events, professional conferences. For 6 years, I said, the story was that this student failed, that she was too emotional, too fragile, not cut out for the realities of emergency medicine. My father's jaw was tight. He was staring at the screen. Slide 28 appeared. The title filled the screen. September 19th, 2019, 6:42 a.m. An email. I looked directly at table 3. My father's face went pale. This is the email that ended that student's career, I said. I read the subject line aloud, slowly. Urgent. Stacy Cartwright, professionalism concern. The room went completely silent. I read the sender line. Dr. Edmund Cartwright, Chief Medical Officer, Jefferson Hospital. I read the recipient line. Dr. Walter Hale, Associate Dean for Student Affairs. Then I let them read the rest. I didn't speak. I stood at the podium and let 400 physicians read my father's words on the screen. I'm writing to request immediate review of my daughter Stacy's clinical readiness. During her ER rotation at Jefferson Hospital, she has developed a concerning pattern of questioning attending physicians inappropriately and filing incident reports that stem from her inability to function under the pressure of clinical medicine. 40 seconds of silence. I heard someone gasp. I heard someone whisper, "Oh my God." I clicked to slide 29, the report he was trying to bury, submitted 9 hours earlier. My incident report confirmation. Report number ER-2019-0918-SC. Timestamp 11:52 p.m., September 18th, 2019. I filed this report at 11:52 at night, I said. 10 hours later, my badge wouldn't open the hospital doors. Slide 30, 3 documents side by side. My student note. Concern for bacterial meningitis documented. Nuchal rigidity present. Petechial rash noted. Recommend LP and empiric antibiotics. Discussed with attending. Concerns dismissed. Timestamp 10:38 p.m. Patient death certificate. Cause of death, bacterial meningitis, streptococcus pneumonia. Time of death, 2:17 a.m. My father's email. Sent. September 19th, 2019, 6:42 a.m. The child died at 2:17 in the morning, I said quietly. My father sent his email 4 hours later. He knew the child was dead when he wrote those words. He knew I'd been right. And he sent it anyway. People were staring at my father now. He was looking at his plate. His hands were flat on the table. Slide 31. In 2025, the Center for Patient Safety Accountability conducted an independent review of Jefferson Hospital's reporting culture. I recused myself from the review. My team found 6 additional patient safety reports filed between 2018 and 2023 by medical students and residents. All were dismissed without investigation. All reporters faced retaliation. Jefferson Hospital is currently under a corrective action plan. I paused. The room was so quiet, I could hear the ice shifting in water glasses. I didn't come here tonight for vindication, I said. I came because silence protects institutions, not patients. I came because medical students and residents deserve to know that speaking up isn't weakness, it's their obligation. And I came because my father taught me something valuable that night in 2019. My father looked up. His eyes met mine. He taught me that when someone in power tells you to be quiet, you document everything, you keep receipts, you build credibility, and when the time comes, when you have the microphone and they're in the second row, you tell the truth. I paused. Even if your hands are shaking, even if it costs you, especially then. I clicked off the presentation. The screen went black. For 5 seconds, there was nothing, just silence. Then someone in the back of the room stood up, started clapping. Then another person. Then a section. Not everyone. Maybe 200 people stood. Maybe 150 stayed seated, applauding politely, but not standing. About 50 didn't clap at all. Table 3, my father's table, was silent. My father sat perfectly still, looking down, hands on the table, not moving. I stepped away from the podium, walked off stage, went straight to the side exit. I wasn't running. I just had nothing left to say. The parking lot was cold, February night, clear sky. I unlocked my car. I heard footsteps behind me. Stacy. I turned around. My father. Alone. Jacket unbuttoned, tie loosened, hands in his pockets. He was standing 8 feet away. "You ambushed me," he said. His voice was hoarse. "In front of 400 people." I opened my car door. Didn't get in. "You buried a patient safety report. In front of no one." He took 2 steps closer. "Owen Mercer is my oldest friend. I couldn't—" He stopped, started again. "The hospital couldn't afford a lawsuit. The family would have—" He stopped again. "You don't understand the pressure I was under." "A child died," I said. "That's the only pressure that mattered." "You had your whole career ahead of you," he said. "You could have gone into research, policy. You didn't need clinical medicine. I gave you options." "You didn't get to make that choice for me," I said. "You made it to protect your friend and your hospital. Don't pretend it was for me." He looked at me like he was waiting. Waiting for me to absolve him. Waiting for me to say it was okay. Waiting for me to tell him I understood. I didn't. I got into my car, started the engine, rolled down the window. He was still standing there. "You can be my father again when you write to that child's mother and tell her the truth," I said. "Her name is Allison Pierce. She lives in Radnor. You can tell her that a medical student raised concerns about her son and you buried them. Tell her you chose institutional protection over his life. Do that, and we can talk. Not before." I drove away. 2 hours on I-95 back to Washington. I didn't cry. I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty. And clean. The week after the gala was quiet. My father didn't call. My mother didn't call. No one from the family reached out. I got LinkedIn messages, 37 of them between February 16th and February 22nd. Some were supportive. That took courage. We need more truth-tellers in medicine. Some were critical. There were professional ways to address this. What you did was cruel. I read them all. I didn't respond to any of them. On February 28th, I got a letter. Return address. My parents' home in Gladwyn. My father's handwriting. 2 pages. I read it twice. Stacy, I hope you understand why I made the choices I did. The hospital's reputation was at stake. We faced potential legal exposure. I was trying to protect the family name and the institution your grandfather built. I never wanted to hurt you, and I hope you can see that I was doing what I thought was necessary to protect everyone involved, including you, whether you see it that way or not. Perhaps we can find a way forward. I'd like to talk when you're ready. I put the letter down, picked it up, read it again. The phrase "I'm sorry" appeared 0 times. I wrote back, 1 paragraph, mailed it on March 3rd. I gave you the terms. They haven't changed. Write to Allison Pierce, 428 Maple Avenue, Radnor, Pennsylvania, 19087, and tell her what happened. Tell her a medical student raised concerns about her son, and you buried them. Tell her you chose institutional protection over his life. Do that, and we can talk. Not before. S. I haven't heard back. It's been 3 weeks. I don't expect to. On March 15th, my phone rang. Evelyn Ward. I heard about your speech, she said. Some of the nurses who still work at Jefferson told me what you did. She paused. Stacy, you told the truth. That's all anyone should have asked of you. I've been a nurse for 32 years. I've seen what happens when people stay quiet. You didn't stay quiet. You did the right thing twice, in 2019 and last month. After we hung up, I sat on my couch in my DC apartment and cried for the first time since the gala. Not sad tears, relief. It's late March now. I'm still senior director at the Center for Patient Safety Accountability. Jefferson Hospital is still under corrective action, working with my colleagues to develop new reporting protections. Dr. Owen Mercer quietly retired on March 1st. No public reason given. My father is still chief medical officer, but he stepped down from the Legacy Council at Oakmont. I haven't had contact with my family since I mailed that letter on March 3rd. People ask if I regret it. I don't. I regret that it was necessary, but someone had to say it. If I didn't, who would? I didn't do this to destroy him. I did it because silence was destroying me. And I'm done being silent. I built a new table. It doesn't have my father's name on it. It doesn't have his approval. It has my work, my truth, my receipts. And that's enough. If you've ever been told to stay quiet about something you witnessed, in medicine, in your family, at work, anywhere, you're not alone. You're not weak for speaking up, and you're not cruel for refusing to carry someone else's lie. Document everything. Keep your receipts. Build your credibility, because the truth doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be undeniable. Drop a comment if you've ever been the person who spoke up and paid for it. Let's build a thread of truth tellers. You're not alone.